From WBAL-TV 11, this is breaking news.
Air raid sirens in Ukraine following bombings in the capital as Russia officially invades the country overnight. We have late-breaking details in that developing situation.
Good Thursday morning, and thanks for waking up with us on 11 News Today. We'll get to all of our headlines in just a minute.
Now, first, I want to check in with Taylor Grinda in the First Cup forecast. Morning, Taylor.
Good morning. Big difference happening today. It's significantly colder out this morning, and we already have winter weather advisories issued for later on tonight. Right now, though, dry for the morning commute. If you're heading out there, should be mainly dry for a majority of the morning commute as well. Eventually, though, that won't be the case all day long. A light wintry mix will be developing ongoing throughout the rest of today. This is a storm system which will bring us that threat and even the threat for freezing rain also into tonight. Right now, temperatures are currently starting out in the 30s for everyone. It's going to be a cold day out there, too. Notice those rain and snow showers develop anytime really after 9 o'clock today. They'll remain very spotty all the way through the rest of this afternoon. It's later on tonight where the threat for rain and freezing rain will come into play. So I will check on that forecast and who's going to see what. Coming up, let's first head over to Lacey for a check on the roads.
Well, good Thursday morning to you. Pretty quiet out there on area roads if you're just about to head out. Overnight road work should now be packed up. 95 in the north and east looking good. If you're traveling through Cecil County, no issues as you head towards the Tidings Bridge nearby US 40 as you head to the Hayden Bridge, also running on time. Top side of the Beltway looks good. Over through Pikesville, the 83s, Towson and Parkville, you can see pretty light volume on the inner and outer loop, and that's really the case all over the Beltway so far. South of the city, if you have an early morning flight out of BWI, roads around the airport are all looking good. Here's a check on Maryland 100 just west of the BW Parkway, and you can see Maryland 295 is also all in the green. That's latest on your drive. Jason, over to you.
5:01 now, that breaking news overnight from the Ukraine-Russia border.
The Ukrainian president has ordered martial law across the country after Russia officially invaded overnight.
Theo Hayes joins us now with the late-breaking details. Morning, Theo.
Good morning, Jason and Mindy. Late last night, Russian President Vladimir Putin announced a military operation in eastern Ukraine. Take a live look right now at the capital of Kyiv, where people are trying to leave the city as air sirens have been sounding after explosions were heard in major cities across Ukraine. President Biden is saying Putin has chosen a premeditated war that will bring a catastrophic loss of life and human suffering. Today, he's planning to announce new consequences the U.S. and allies will impose against Russia. President Biden spoke to Ukraine's president last night, who declared a national state of emergency and imposed martial law. The United Nations Security Council also held an emergency meeting.
Russia alone is responsible for the death and destruction this attack will bring.
President Putin, in the name of humanity, bring your troops back.
President Putin is defying global pressure and pushing ahead with his long-predicted and long-dreaded war. This morning, President Biden will speak with top allies in the G7 groups of nations about the crisis in Ukraine, and we will have a report from our Washington bureau coming up in about 15 minutes.
Thank you, Thea. We'll have the latest on the invasion and worldwide implications it will have in the WBAL-TV mobile app. Be one of the first to find out what's going on by turning on push alerts.
Baltimore police are kept in the dark when it comes to the release of violent criminals waiting to go to trial.
But legislation under consideration in Annapolis would require the Department of Corrections to notify police whenever someone is released on bail.
11 News reporter Jen Franciotti live from Baltimore Police headquarters this morning with the details of this. Morning, Jen.
Hey guys, good morning. That's right. Unlike other jurisdictions, the state runs the jail in Baltimore City. And so basically this legislation would close a loophole in the law and allow police to be notified when someone is out on bail. Now, the original bill focused on notification when violent offenders make bail, but it was amended this week to include anyone for any crime. Both the mayor and police commissioner testified in favor of the bill. They think it will go a long way in helping to protect victims and witnesses.
We can craft and implement a deployment strategy that will allow us to protect those who have been unfairly victimized and those who have risked everything to come forward and provide that vital information to get justice for the victim. It will also help us to mitigate retaliatory violence as law enforcement can monitor open sources to learn of any planned and pre-planned retaliation upon receiving notification of a defendant's release.
Now, the governor is also in support of this bill, and if passed, it could become law in October. Reporting live here at police headquarters, Jen Franciotti. Now back to you.
Jen, thanks. This morning, a 16-year-old boy is charged with first-degree murder in the case of a DoorDash delivery driver killed in northeast Baltimore just last month. Police tell 11 News that the suspect turned himself in a little after midnight Tuesday. Investigators say the victim, Cheryl McCormick, was dropping off food on January 24th when her car ran out of gas on White Avenue. According to police, the suspect shot and killed McCormick as he was trying to rob her. Investigators say that they were able to identify the 16-year-old through surveillance video and by speaking with witnesses.
A report from the monitoring team overseeing the Baltimore Police Department's consent decree found progress is being made to reform the department. The independent monitoring team's report found the department made substantial improvements to transporting those in police custody, and it says there have been tangible improvements to BPD's Public Integrity Bureau. The Bureau investigates reports of officer misconduct. But while the Bureau is improving its investigation efficiency, more needs to be done to match those improvements in investigative quality. Next steps for BPD include developing department-wide training on youth interactions and crisis intervention responses.
Well, strip club and bar owners with businesses on the block have some answers this morning.
Last night, owners met with one Maryland lawmaker on a proposed legislation meant to help the city fight crime. Owners are calling for a full, transparent discussion over a bill proposing a curfew and more security measures along the block to prevent crime.
One thing that we're absolutely not going to do is pay any more money, and we're dug in the trenches, and we're going to stick to our guns on that.
The meeting with Senator Bill Ferguson last night comes after the senator had stated last week an agreement had been reached by a majority of the block business owners. 10 of the 18 businesses say that was not true.
After meeting with the senator, owners now say proposed amendments on the bill would include 24/7 security cameras with police access, security personnel at all hours of operation, and the normal hours of business after submitting a security plan to the city. Another proposal would require money from club owners to increase Baltimore police patrols, a proposal owners on the block say they have yet to agree upon.
Make no mistake about it. We were closed for 11 months, and we're just now digging ourselves out of a hole. We don't have the money to pay.
For now, the club owners say that they are still planning to have an open forum discussion about the bill at the La Scala restaurant downtown tomorrow.
Baltimore City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby will play the role of defendant in her federal trial starting May 2nd. Mosby is charged with perjury and making false statements on 2 mortgage applications. Federal prosecutors say she did not disclose a federal tax lien against her on those applications. Court papers show her husband, City Council President Nick Mosby, told her it was all taken care of. A final motions hearing is set for April 27th. Coming up, we'll check in with C4, see what he's talking about on the radio with Brian Newman.
A new proposal designed to improve firefighter safety in light of the recent vacant building fire that killed 3 emergency responders, what firefighters would be required to carry with them, and why the city fire union says it has an issue with the bill.
Roads are nice and quiet today as compared to yesterday's mess, so smooth sailing if you're just about to head out.
And the complete opposite with the weather today. It's much colder, and we have the threat for a wintry mix developing too. So I'll check on your Thursday forecast coming up.
Right now from the 11 News Live Desk, Baltimore City's fire union is reacting to a proposed bill aimed at protecting firefighters. The union wants to know why they weren't consulted first. At Tuesday night's Baltimore City Council meeting, Councilwoman Danielle McCrae introduced the Firefighter Safety Act, which establishes new rules of engagement for fighting vacant structure fires, requires each firefighter to be equipped with a digital and video recording devices, and requires a safety and risk management officer to report directly to the chief. Both city fire unions and department officials say they were never asked for input on the bill. IAFF Local 734 President Rich Langford tells us recently the City Council commissioned and paid for a 300-plus page report that highlighted 28 recommendations the department needed fixed, and so far only a handful have been addressed.
This bill is something that I think has good intent to it, but it's something that needs to be sat down with the unions, the fire department administration, to kind of get to the bottom of this. We've had public reports done. Let's look at all these reports and come together as a group and put a better plan in place.
Well, in the end, Langford is hopeful the department and the city can work something out. This all, of course, happening following the deaths of Lieutenant Paul Boutram, Lieutenant Kelsey Sadler, and EMT firefighter Kenny Lacayo. Jason and Mindy, back to you.
found a victim.
The officers found the victim with a gunshot to the thigh on West North Avenue around 1 yesterday afternoon. No word on what led up to the shooting or a possible suspect. Meanwhile, this morning, we know the name of the carjacking suspect killed by Baltimore police over the weekend. The Attorney General's office says 18-year-old Donnell Rochester from Odenton died. 2 officers shot him on Hillen Road in Northeast Baltimore on Saturday. Authorities say Rochester had an outstanding armed robbery warrant. The Independent Investigation Division, which investigates deadly police shootings, says the officers, Robert Morey and Connor Murray, were involved. Both are assigned to the city's Operations Bureau. Well, a Community Watch organization is stepping up patrols along Park Heights Avenue and is in response to recent violence in that area.
Yeah, the organization called Shamrim and a private surveillance cameras saying it's just one of the many things that they're doing to help people feel safer after someone carjacked a man in that area.
Nate Wilner is a member of Baltimore Shamrim Safety Patrol. It's a community group of around 30 volunteers that work with police to ensure public safety. One of the big things they did in response to the crime is install more of these donated private crime surveillance cameras.
But it's a way to be able to cooperate. The police can look at these cameras and see if there's something on it. And you don't have to really put yourself in the game, so to speak.
Now, on top of that, Wilner says that Shamrim has increased patrols in the area and increased education about crime safety. He's happy to know that people in the community are stepping up to keep the neighborhood safe.
Yeah, they definitely appreciate it. That's for sure. Yeah, do I still feel? I still, still got to watch yourself. You got to be careful, yeah, it's 100%. It's definitely needed.
As for the cameras, 11 News was told they are privately owned and are monitored 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Shamrim says they plan to put more up across the area.
Stop shooting and killing each other. That's the message from Safe Streets after a deadly double shooting in South Baltimore. Safe Streets held a shooting response Wednesday at Brooklyn Homes. It comes after someone shot and killed a 35-year-old and a 43-year-old man in the 800 block of Glade Court on Monday. Now, a Safe Streets organizer says that there needs to be another way to solve problems.
This is a community mobilization piece where we bring the community together and say, stop shooting each other, stop killing. Let's come to another way of resolving our issues and our problems.
As of this morning, police haven't made any arrests in this case. Also this morning, police are searching for the woman who stabbed a man at a bus stop in West Baltimore. Police say the suspect attacked the victim on Smallwood Street as he was getting off the bus a little after 10:30 Wednesday morning. The man was taken to shock trauma for treatment. Now, we don't know his condition at this time. Anyone with information about this incident, you are urged to call police. 5:22 right now. Time to find out what you hear on the radio this morning with Brian Neiman and C4.
C4 joins us from the studio upstairs. Good morning, C4.
Good morning, Mindy and Jason. Look, we heard over the weekend we might need a 4th booster if you took the Moderna vaccine shot or the Pfizer shot in the fall. Also, just yesterday, they were talking about potentially a 8-week separation between the first shot of Moderna and Pfizer. And the bottom line, all these new news coming in, we need to talk to somebody about it. Dr. Paul Offit is going to be joining us. He's a co-creator of his own vaccine. He's been one of the national talking heads on this. He'll join us at 8 o'clock to let us know what we need to do as it relates to the vaccines. And we're all monitoring. We woke up this morning to Russia and its attack on Ukraine. All throughout the day, we'll be covering this. We're going to reach out to our U.S. senators, our members of Congress, and figure out what is going on. Only reports we're getting so far are from Ukraine, and it just looks bad. Things are exploding all over the place in Ukraine.
Yeah, it's just such an unsettling feeling,
it really
right?
is.
Yeah, it's going to make for a long morning.
Look for gas prices to go up. That's the bottom line.
Well.
Absolutely.
All right, C4, thank you, man. Catch C4 and Brian Neiman. That's weekdays 5:30 to 10 on WBAL News Radio, 1090 AM and 101.5 FM. Stay with us. Right back.
From WBAL-TV 11, this is breaking news.
Firefighters are on the scene of Garrison Boulevard in Dorchester, where they rescued someone that was inside that home. That person has been transported to a local hospital in critical condition. We're also following another fire that broke out this morning in a house on Bristol Avenue in Brooklyn Park. City firefighters reported to Potee Street near the Anne Arundel County line and were joined by Anne Arundel County fire crews. All personnel continue to work together in cleanup efforts. No word yet on the cause of either of these fires. And in an update to breaking news that we brought you this morning, a container ship is still stranded off the coast of the Gibson Island in the Chesapeake Bay. The ship, known as the Ever Forward, is still listed as aground on Marine Tracker. Sky Team 11 was over the scene just moments ago, where several tugboats out of Baltimore are trying to assist. The company that operates the ship, Evergreen, is the same one that was responsible for the ship that got stuck in the Suez Canal a year ago. We will continue to monitor this situation and bring you updates on air and online. And you can get more breaking news in the WBAL-TV app. Turn on those notifications to get breaking news alerts sent right to your phone. The lines of communication were open for a fourth time between Ukraine and Russia today, but a technical problem shut them down. They will pick back up tomorrow. This comes as the crisis in Ukraine intensifies. The UN estimates nearly 600 civilians have been killed since Russian forces attacked. Over the weekend, an American journalist was among those who died, and Ukrainian President Zelensky is set to address Congress Wednesday. NBC's Bree Jackson has the latest from Washington.
Over the weekend, Russia launched a missile attack hitting a military base roughly 20 miles outside of NATO ally Poland. Ukrainian officials say nearly 30 missiles were fired at Ukraine's most famous military base, killing at least 35, wounding more than 100, and shattering a sense of safety in the city of Lviv, which sits just west.
There's no safe place in Ukraine right now, because you're in war with a country who has missiles who can fly to any capital in the European Union.
U.S. officials believe the attack was an attempt to cut off supplies for Ukraine.
It's no surprise that the Russians are trying to expand the number of targets in this war because they're frustrated.
There are fears Russia's military actions could cross into NATO turf, an area the U.S. vows to defend. The administration also threatening severe sanctions should Russia deploy chemical weapons. Officials say it's a concern, but decline to publicly discuss the intelligence that suggests it could happen.
We haven't seen anything that indicates some sort of imminent chemical or biological attack right now, but we're watching this very, very closely.
There's also a warning to China and other countries who may attempt to aid Russia's war efforts.
If they think that they can basically bail Russia out, they can give Russia a workaround to the sanctions that we've imposed, they should have another thing coming.
More assistance is coming to Ukraine. The White House is rushing to get an additional $200 million in U.S. military equipment to the front lines. Today, national security and State Department officials will travel to Rome to meet with their Chinese counterparts. Among other things, they'll discuss Russia's invasion of Ukraine. In Washington, I'm Bree Jackson. Back to you.
Well, we've seen the overwhelming support by many in our state to aid the humanitarian efforts in Ukraine. We have a link on our website where you can donate directly to the Red Cross. You can find that page at WBAL-TV.com/Red Cross. This week, we're starting off with gas prices almost $1 higher than just 2 weeks ago. Here in Maryland, the average price is $4.27, which is 6 cents lower than the national average. That's according to AAA. These are now the highest gas prices the country has ever seen. According to the Lundberg survey, gas prices are likely to remain high for a while. The cost of crude oil continues to rise due to global supply concerns following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. We have an interactive guide to gas prices in Maryland. You can see how our state compares to the national average and the average gas prices by county, all in the WBAL-TV app.
We've had some weird weather over the past several days. Got some snow heading into Saturday, and then things have started to warm ever since. And we got temperatures in the 60s right now. Satellite and radar together. We'll call it partly cloudy over the entire state there. Taking a look at temperatures, 57 at the airport, 49 downtown, but they're going to warm up pretty quick. 52 in Sykesville, and we're in the mid-50s at this hour on the eastern shore. And I think we'll be about 5 to 6 degrees warmer than this as we head into the afternoon hours. Here's how the rest of the day is going to shape up. Looking at topping out in the 60s for highs later this afternoon. Lots of sunshine, as you can see, and the sunshine will stick around over the next several days. We'll talk about that in your 7-day forecast straight ahead.
Thank you, Lowell. While gas prices continue to soar, that's just one piece of the puzzle that's taking a larger chunk out of people's bank accounts. The newest Goucher poll, just released overnight, asked people how they feel about the recent price increases due to inflation. Of the people polled, more than half said that it has caused minor or major financial hardships. When asked about their finances today compared to a year ago, 47% said that it was about the same, while 33% said it's worse, and only 19% think it's better. When it comes to issues Marylanders want the state government to prioritize, 25% said crime and public safety were the top concern. Education came next, followed by economic issues and jobs and health care. One of the topics garnering attention in Annapolis this legislative session, the legalization of recreational marijuana. It's supported by 62% of those surveyed. And with less than a year left in his second term, Governor Hogan continues to receive widespread support at 65% approval, where President Biden's numbers have fallen in the last year, only getting 48% approval ratings. For the first time since August, masks are now optional inside Baltimore City Public Schools. The city is the last school district in the state to ease its mandate. Low community transmission rates is one reason why Baltimore City Public Schools initiated the policy change. The Baltimore City Public Schools Chief of Staff says that's because they wanted to give people time to adjust.
We always want to make sure we're in tune with our families and that we're hearing from our families and our staff. We've been very thorough about our health and safety measures. We have some of the most comprehensive health and safety measures in the state and in the country, frankly.
Pediatrician Dr. Rebecca Rabin recommends families first assess their comfort level, then seek out guidance from their pediatrician if still deciding whether to send their child to school with a mask or not.
Well, I think it's really dependent on everybody's circumstance. There may be families that have more vulnerable people at home. There are certainly families that have children that are too young to vaccinate.
This week, advisory time and other meetings may be used to talk to students about the importance of deciding what is right for them. Anyone who is a close contact or is recovering from COVID must still wear a mask inside school buildings. Still to come for you on 11 News at noon. New speed and red light cameras have been activated today. Watch out. We're going to tell you where to look out for them across the city when we come back.
And we're going to top out in the low 60s with lots of sunshine today, and things are going to warm up throughout the week. We'll talk about that after the break.
Right now, the Talbot boys statue has officially been removed from its spot outside of the Talbot County Courthouse. The Move the Monument Coalition raised $80,000 to pay for the relocation from the Eastern Shore to Cross Keys Battlefield in Harrisonburg, Virginia. The decision to move the statue has been praised and criticized by Maryland residents.
I am the 7th generation of enslaved people here in Talbot County. And that statue, the Talbot Boy statue, has represented to my family resistance to have African Americans even be able to walk down the streets in Talbot County at one time. And to know what they went through to survive here means a lot to me to see it removed.
The statue is the last Confederate monument in Maryland on non-federal property. This afternoon, Baltimore City Police are investigating a shooting from overnight in South Baltimore. Officers reported to Bristol Avenue near South Hanover Street just before 12:30 this morning to respond to a discharging. Once on scene, officers found a 34-year-old male inside the driver's seat of a vehicle suffering from gunshot wounds to the head and chest. He was transported to the hospital and is in critical condition. An early investigation revealed the victim was driving on Bristol Avenue when two unidentified suspects began shooting at the victim's vehicle. After the vehicle crashed, the suspects fled on foot toward Anne Arundel County. Anyone with information on this incident is asked to contact police or Metro Crime Stoppers. Police are also investigating a shooting that happened last night in northeast Baltimore. Just before 10 o'clock, officers responded to Shamrock Avenue near Herring Run Park to investigate a discharging. Once on the scene, officers located a 22-year-old man suffering from a gunshot wound to the lower back. He was transported to a local hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Well, a man shot last week in northeast Baltimore has now died from his injuries. Just after 2 o'clock Thursday afternoon, police responded to Sturge Bridge Drive. When they arrived, they found a man with a life-threatening gunshot wound. He was taken to a hospital and died Saturday from his injuries. Homicide detectives continue to investigate the shooting, and anyone with information on who may be behind this crime should contact police. This afternoon, police have released more information on a deadly shooting Saturday night in northwest Baltimore. That shooting left 3 men dead and another man is recovering this afternoon. Police found a car stopped near the intersection of Liberty Heights and Gwynn Oak Avenue. Police searched the scene after finding 4 men shot inside the car. Police say 2 of the men were 26 years of age, another was 25. All 3 were found unresponsive and taken to the hospital. Police say the 4th victim, a 73-year-old man, was also sent to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The 3 younger men died. Police have not named any suspects yet in this case. They're asking anyone with information to call them or Metrocom stoppers. A lunch outing turned deadly in Washington, D.C. when a car plowed into a restaurant patio Friday afternoon. That crash happened on Connecticut Avenue a little after 12:30. 2 women were killed and several others were hurt, including 3 people with critical injuries. One of the witnesses said he could not believe what he was seeing.
I'm just sitting over here in the Safeway parking lot filling out a work order on the iPad, and it sounded like, just a big truck beating down the street. Next thing you know, people were running. Oh, good Lord.
Police say the driver lost control of the car. They don't believe it was intentional. Investigators will look at surveillance video from the area to figure out exactly why he lost control. And an update for you this afternoon in the Marilyn Mosby perjury case. The government has filed its response to the city state's attorney's motion to dismiss all charges against her. Mosby's attorneys had called the charges vindictive and meritless, but the government says her claims are a, quote, mishmash of unsupported allegations, inaccuracies, misstatements, and baseless attacks. Therefore, prosecutors say her motion to dismiss should be denied. Baltimore City will be activating multiple new red light and speed cameras across the city today. Be careful. This is your warning. 3 of the new speed cameras surround school zones. They include heading south on North Forest Avenue near Dickey Hill Elementary Middle School, heading both east and westbound along West Lake Avenue near the Boys Latin School of Maryland and the Bryn Mawr School, and on East Northern Parkway near the Redeemer Parish Day School. Speed cameras operate in Baltimore City school zones Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. A violation will cost you $40 by going over the speed limit by at least 12 miles per hour. The 3 new red light cameras will be activated at the intersections of Liberty Heights Avenue at Hilton Avenue, Howard Street at Mulberry Street, and Boston Street at Alisana Street. Red light cameras operate 24 hours a day, every day of the year. A violation there will cost you $75. In today's Consumer Alert, it is not just drivers feeling the pain at the pump. Uber passengers are about to see a gas surcharge on their bills. The rideshare company says it is rolling out a temporary fuel fee. It is to offset record high gas prices. This will apply to rides and Uber Eats deliveries starting tomorrow. The money will go directly to drivers. You can expect to pay up to 45 cents more for each Uber Eats order or up to 55 cents more per ride. Uber says it will reevaluate the surcharge in about 60 days. Well, today is Pi Day. March 14th marks the annual celebration of the math variable pi, which is the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter, and the number is rounded to 3.14. It also means many pizza places are having special deals to celebrate the day. Papa John's, 7-Eleven, BJ's Restaurant, and Brew House, and Whole Foods are all selling pies for $3.14. And if you order online and pick it up yourself, Domino's Pizza will give you a $3 coupon code to redeem the following week. Up next, we have your Maryland Lottery midday pick 3, pick 4, and pick 5 numbers. And Lowell will have a final check of your weather forecast. First, though, a look at tonight's primetime lineup on WBAL-TV 11. Stay with us. Welcome to 11 News at noon. I'm Theo Hayes. This afternoon, despite news the 2 sides will hold face-to-face meetings today, the fightings between Russian and Ukrainian troops continues and in many areas has intensified. 6 days after the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the number of people fleeing the country is growing. Many observers now labeling the influx of refugees to neighboring countries a potentially dangerous humanitarian crisis. An overwhelming number of those rushing to safety are pouring into Poland. This afternoon, Jay Gray is along the Ukraine-Poland border with a closer look at the situation.
The fighting intensifies. U.S. officials acknowledging Russian troops appear to be gaining ground in southern Ukraine, but continue to face stiff resistance to the north, including the capital city of Kiev.
It's so weird to actually hear the explosions in the city day by day and shootings, and seeing all the images all around the country where people suffer.
Horrific images of a country battered by 5 days of war. Burned out military vehicles, blood-stained snow, evidence of a deadly firefight, buildings ripped apart during a missile attack, and families ripped apart by the violence. Hundreds of thousands scrambling to escape, overwhelmed and unsure of where they'll go and what will happen to loved ones left behind to fight. Delegations from Russia and Ukraine are meeting face-to-face along the Belarus border today. Ukrainian leaders making it clear the discussions will not include any talk of surrender. Jay Gray, NBC News, along the Poland-Ukraine border.
This afternoon, Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky says he has signed an application for Ukraine to join the European Union. And as Jay mentioned, talks between Ukraine and Russia have begun this afternoon at the Belarusian border. As fighting continues to rage on in Ukraine, President Zelensky sent a delegation to meet with Russian officials. According to a Ukrainian official, Ukraine's goal for the talks is an immediate ceasefire and the withdrawal of Russian forces from Ukraine. All of this comes as Russian President Vladimir Putin puts Russia's nuclear deterrent on high alert Sunday. At least 100 civilians in Ukraine have been killed and hundreds more have been wounded since the war began. Governor Larry Hogan joined Baltimore's Ukrainian community to pray for an end to the violence. The service was held this morning at St. Michael the Archangel Ukrainian Catholic Church in Canton. At one point, people brought out a massive Ukrainian flag you see there to wave in the aisle. Through tears, Hogan expressed complete solidarity with the congregation. He says the people of Maryland stand with the people of Ukraine, and he's taking every action to show that support.
We're also taking actions to make sure that no state agency and the retirement system and everybody else that we're divesting of any interest. I don't know that we have any, but we're going to make sure that we don't have any. We're not doing anything to support Russia in any way or their economy.
Over the weekend, Governor Hogan directed the Secretary of State to terminate Maryland's nearly 30-year sister state relationship with the Leningrad region of Russia. And we're learning more about local efforts to show support for Ukraine, including the boycott of Russian products. Virginia ABC stores are removing 7 Russian-sourced vodka brands from shelves. In Montgomery County, all products produced in Russia are being removed from county alcohol beverage service stores. This is a move that's been seen in liquor stores and restaurants around the country over the past few days. This afternoon, Baltimore police are searching for whomever vandalized the Ukrainian cemetery. Vandals snapped off headstones and shattered urns at St. Michael Ukrainian Catholic Church in Canton. The man who found the damage says it happened on Wednesday. That's the same day the Russia invaded Ukraine.
It's just a sad, you know. You figure this is a place where you can come and do prayer and pay respects to family, friends, relatives.
A police report has been filed and a caretaker is looking into adding more security to that cemetery. Well, here in Baltimore this weekend, many landmarks were lit in yellow and blue to show support. Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott tweeted these pictures and thanked the Orioles and Ravens organizations for showing their support. Now stay with WBAL-TV 11 on air and online for all of the late-breaking developments from Ukraine. Remember to turn on push alerts to get all of those updates sent right to your phone.
Temperatures were in the 50s yesterday to close the weekend. You probably noticed it's a little bit colder out there today. We'll likely stay in the 40s this afternoon, but plenty of sunshine for this Monday. It's 45 at the airport, 40 downtown Baltimore. It's only 39 in Parkton. The high temperatures will average out in the mid 40s, I think, this afternoon. A few clouds come in tonight, but no precipitation. Temperatures drop back into the low 30s. 7-day forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
All right. Thank you, Tony. This afternoon, firefighters are still on the scene putting out hot spots of a 2-alarm fire that broke out in West Baltimore this morning. That fire started just after 3:30 in a 3-story vacant home on North Carey Street. Firefighters say the flames spread to 3 adjacent homes, displacing nearly a dozen occupants. One firefighter is recovering from minor injuries. The cause of that fire is under investigation. Baltimore County fire officials are investigating what started a 2-alarm fire on Mornington Road in Dundalk overnight. 5 people were injured and transported to area hospitals, with 1 in critical condition. 4 people were displaced as a result of that fire. Coming up for you on 11 News at noon, preventing crime at malls, how Baltimore County Police and Towson Town Center are working together to avoid violence in public areas. And Ocean City police officers have now been approved to wear body cameras. When those cameras will go live, that's when we come back. Breaking news right now from Baltimore City. A judge has sentenced Keith Smith to life in prison for the murder of his wife, Jacqueline Smith. On top of that, Smith will also serve 3 years for use of a deadly weapon. Back on December 1st, 2018, he called 911 blaming the stabbing death of his wife on a panhandler. Keith's daughter, Valeria Smith, was sentenced to 5 years in prison for that same crime. She pleaded guilty in March of 2019 to accessory after the fact. Lawrence Banks was sentenced today to 40 years for second-degree murder of his daughter, Dominique Foster. Banks is accused of killing his daughter on Mother's Day, whose body was discovered in a shopping cart. Banks was also sentenced to 1 year for unauthorized disposal of a body. Both sentences are to be served consecutively. Banks will not be eligible for parole for 20 years. This afternoon, Baltimore police are investigating after a man was killed in northwest Baltimore last night. Officers responded to Talbot Road just before 5:30 to assist with towing a vehicle. When they arrived, they found a 23-year-old man who had been shot in the head. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Police say Christian Jackson is the victim. He had been missing since February 15th. Baltimore police are investigating another homicide in southwest Baltimore. The call came in for reports of a shooting on South Monastery Avenue around 1 o'clock this morning. Once on scene, officers found a 33-year-old man suffering from a bullet wound. He was transported to the hospital where he died. Anyone with information on either of these homicides is urged to contact Baltimore police. Baltimore County police are increasing their presence at area malls to make sure that there are no incidents like the one at Towson Town Center 2 weeks ago.
While we believe this disturbance was an anomaly, let me be clear, we will not allow this to become the norm.
The police department is working with Towson Town Center management to put safety measures in place. That includes improving communication and information sharing with the department and increasing police presence in public areas. Other county malls such as East Point, White Marsh, and Security Square are also making similar changes. Police officers in Ocean City, Maryland will wear body cameras this summer. Last week, the Ocean City Council approved to purchase the devices for all 116 of the department's full-time officers. Seasonal officers may also get the cameras. The cameras will go live in the spring. And still to come for you on 11 News at noon, President Biden preparing to deliver the State of the Union address, what we can expect from the president's speech tomorrow.
Dry and chilly today, but what's in store for the first few days of March, I'll let you know right after this short break. Stay with us.
This afternoon, every school district in Maryland now has the option to end their mask policy. Last week, the General Assembly voted 17-1 in favor of giving local districts the power to make their own mandates. That vote came after the State Board of Education decided last week to make masking a local issue. Carroll County will make masks optional starting today, and Baltimore County will implement that tomorrow. Anne Arundel and Howard counties have already removed their mask mandates. Baltimore City schools have not made a decision to remove masks just yet. Maryland schools aren't the only ones easing restrictions. According to the CDC, most Americans can safely remove their masks. Under the new guidelines released on Friday, 70% of the U.S. population lives in a county where COVID transmission poses a low to medium threat. That's where people can stop wearing masks. But students and those who live in high transmission areas are being advised to continue wearing masks. It's important to note these guidelines do not apply to public transit, airports, train stations, and bus stations. Those remain under a federal mask mandate. As the war in the Ukraine continues to dominate the world stage, President Biden prepares to deliver the State of the Union address tomorrow. Political experts say the president will use the annual speech to both chambers of Congress to highlight campaign promises kept, such as the recent nomination of a black woman to the Supreme Court and passing an infrastructure deal. But the president has also faced setbacks on his social spending plan and voting rights. Amid a sagging approval rating, political analysts say tomorrow's speech gives the president a chance for a turnaround.
Talking about something like international war and peace, which is something that Biden has spent decades on back as a U.S. senator, and it's one of the reasons that Obama picked him to be vice president with his expertise, is an excellent opportunity for him to show that he is not just elected president, he is the commander-in-chief.
Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds is expected to give the GOP response to the State of the Union. Mask wearing will be optional at the State of the Union. The House Sergeant at Arms updated COVID guidance last night, and wearing a mask is no longer required and is a personal choice. No word on whether President Biden or Vice President Harris will wear one. Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson is President Biden's nominee for the U.S. Supreme Court. News of the president's pick is giving some local law students hope. 11 News caught up with some first-year law students from the University of Baltimore. They say they are extremely pleased the president made good on his promise to nominate a black woman to the high court.
I think it's a wonderful opportunity. It's very motivational going forward as a person of color in this legal career. It's not very often growing up that we got to see representation that looked like us.
During her speech, the Supreme Court nominee mentioned her brother, who worked for several years in the Baltimore Police Department before entering the service.
My only sibling, my brother Ketaj, came along half a decade later, and I'm so proud of all that he's accomplished. After graduating from Howard University, he became a police officer and a detective on some of the toughest streets in the inner city of Baltimore.
If confirmed, Jackson would be the current court's second black justice and first black female. Jury selection is scheduled to begin today in the first trial of a January 6th defendant. A Texas man, Guy Reffitt, is facing charges of storming the U.S. Capitol with a holstered handgun on his waist and interfering with police officers at the Capitol. Reffitt faces up to 20 years in prison for each count of obstruction and 10 years for entering with a firearm. The trial could set the tone for other riot cases. At least 200 other people have already pleaded guilty in their actions on January 6th.